Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's been a bit since we made a roster video surrounding the RLCS and what's all going on with it, but we've got a lot of things to talk about, some new, some old, so some of these things may not necessarily be like news, but they are relevant to this topic of conversation. So, big spread. Let's jump in right away and talk about the one that everybody is on as of late, which has to do with Team Liquid. For those that are unaware, this started, and this conversation actually started a couple months ago, where there was conversation about what is going on with Team Liquid. Results haven't been good. Things are not going in an ideal situation. And because of that, we then ended up seeing different iterations of the roster, and primarily at the Monaco Gaming Show in 2021. This actually went down on December 19th of last year, where you saw Team Liquid field a roster without Ronicky or Flakes. It was actually a Chronic, a Tau, and Oski, where they ended up doing relatively well. They ended up going all the way to the grand finals. After playing in a qualifier, if I can find the exact results. They ended up winning that entire qualifier, which then brought them into the main event, where they played teams like FC Barcelona and the former Wild roster, who ended up beating Cookser's Minions as well, some of the names that are a little bit more relevant. They ended up then getting into that main event, like I mentioned, and going to the finals with teams like Endpoint, Dignitas, Vitality, Sandrock Gaming, Navi, Forfun, Smiley Face, which was Yukio, Rizix, and Virtuoso, and then Team Queso. The grand finals ended up being Dignitas versus Team Queso, and it ended up them losing 4-1 in that final. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I ended up doing replay analysis on my stream on Thursday. If you guys want to go back and check out the VOD on that, you kind of see what I'm talking about. We went through all the matches that Team Liquid played in that grand final between Queso and Dignitas, and that's the same Queso team that is doing really, really well in the RLCS right now. So it should give some insight into the possibility of what this roster could be. There's been obviously rumors over the last couple of days talking about what the situation is with Team Liquid. We talked about this video a couple days ago as well, and we finally got some inclination of what's going on. All the rumors, which a lot of us have just assumed, like, we know you're no longer with Ronicky and Flakes. We know that is not your focus. You guys are focusing on building a team around a Chronic with Xperia's coach, and we assume because you guys sat out of the winter split, you are focusing heavily on the upcoming season. And the only reason for you guys to sit out of the winter split is because your players aren't eligible. Well, it's just too many coincidences to not assume that you're going after a Tau and Oski, players that we've seen you play in a tournament with. So Team Liquid, to kind of cap this all off, ends up putting out a tweet saying our journey in Rocket League will be continuing, but we must first say farewell to some friends. Thank you, Ronicky and Flakes, which they both reply, say their thanks, all that kind of stuff. But Ronicky and Flakes, we have assumed, have no longer been on this roster actively, I should say, for a long time, but we're still under contract. Now with the upcoming season, or the upcoming split, I should say, or even sooner than that, the upcoming regional and regional 3, those things are starting to become more than rumor, but very good fact at this point, I would say. Anybody who thinks there's any other options would be, I guess, hopeful, I guess. Tau and Oski basically look like it's 100% guarantee, and they are going to be playing in Regional 3, which we did see that a Chronic confirmed through Discord messages earlier in the week. So it does seem very, very likely, and I'm just going to say it, like, there's no way Team Liquid is not playing in Regional 3 with a Tau, Oski, and a Chronic. It's part of the reason why I went back and did replay analysis on them. And if you guys want to hear what I said, again, go check out the VOD, twitch.tv/LAWL, stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. So Team Liquid going to be moving forward. I hate to say, there was some pretty spicy responses to this. One in particular that made me chuckle quite a bit was a Twitter in particular that does a lot of like stat coverage and everything. I forget who it was exactly. It might have been RL Stats, where they ended up saying Liquid loses 0 points for making a roster change during the RLCS split, poking fun at the fact that they haven't qualified for anything. So a little savage there, but good tongue in cheek. Either way. Moving along, and again, like I said, some of these are going to be a little bit older news, but they're relevant to some of the newer stuff. The first one going to be Kansas City Pioneers, where they ended up announcing their roster was being let go back on February 1st, about a week and a half ago. They said that one of Mike, Mektos, and Krazix no longer with us. Thanks for your time, etc. But they say that this isn't a goodbye. Stay tuned in the coming days regarding updates around Pioneers Rocket League. A lot of people kind of hint at who it may be and what it may be. But before we get into that, there is a new team in joining. Blaze, if you guys don't remember, who used to be with Integrity. Integrity is now NXT, combined forces with Team DVS. But Blaze, who is a player who was known and kind of got that notoriety for hitting a really nutty backboard shot, is joining forces with 2/3 of that team. Krazix obviously no longer with. because he was let go from Oxygen, having to go find a new roster. But one of Mike and Mecto staying together and are going to be joining Blaze under the team named Farmville. So hopefully that will do well for them. They'll be playing in the upcoming Regional 3 for North America. They've got open qualifiers actually going on right now this weekend. So hopefully we will have an update on how they're performing. I'll try to pin a comment or something if I'm able to kind of pay attention to that. I've got a bunch of people coming over this weekend for a LAN. There's going to be like 12 people at my house, so it's going to be busy. Also relevant to the Kansas City Pioneers being let go of things, Vibrance, a team that many people have like, why the heck are some of these other rosters getting picked up, but Vibrance is not? Astro, Oath, and Fifi have been playing really well. What the heck? Vibrance does put out a tweet saying, yo, contract, it's official, it's happening. Which many people, usually when they put out this GIF, show that they have been signed. You also see players from the team also showing announcements and excitement about this. Some people have been trying to like uncover what it is. A lot of people think maybe it's Kansas City Pioneers. Many people think that it's possibly Moist Esports, who showed a lot of interest in the past as well towards certain teams when they were going for True Neutral, which ended up becoming Complexity. There's also a chance that it could be a organization that some people don't know about. Color hints have been like green and stuff. Some people are thinking that they're reading into that, but again, we will have to wait and see. But hopefully Vibrance does get a team soon. They've been pretty dang consistent, and I think are definitely a team that has earned their merit, and an organization would be happy to represent them. It's crazy what financial backing can do for a team when you don't have to worry about every single match being like, if we don't win here, this pressure, we don't get paid and we're screwed. So having backing alleviates some of that, but it still also incentivizes and motivates quite a bit as well. Ironically enough, as soon as I get done recording this video, the Vibrance information comes out. If you guys don't know that Vibrance, after I just talked about like, hey, the potentials of this and that, none of it matters because they ended up shortly after me hitting stop recording, get announced by Accrue. If you guys don't know who Accrue are, you wouldn't be the first ones. They're obviously fairly new, but I did check out their website and kind of found some of the origins behind them. And they started two different businesses. They were Nukazon and Tradery, which are two community-driven products designed to safely connect players to trade in their favorite games, talking Animal Crossing and otherwise. Because of the popularity of those and the way that it worked, they ended up deciding to then turn that into the more gaming side of things, esports side of things, and picking up teams. They've got content creators in different titles based upon, depending whatever you're looking for, but whether it be Breath of the Wild or if you're looking at stuff like Animal Crossing or otherwise, they do have like 3 major content creators that they support from what I've seen. They also have a Valorant team as well. So that's a little bit of history about them, but they are officially signing up Astro, Oath, and Fifi. Glad to see that it finally happened. Jumping over to OCE, a couple things that happened as well. Wildcard Gaming has announced farewell to their roster with Caveman, Ben, Mock, and Sicky. Pretty crazy to see, considering that this team at one point was, I think, like 7th overall in the rankings of all of OCE. Based upon where they stacked up, they were behind teams like Renegades, Ground Zero Gaming, Forkidden, Dire Wolves, Riot, and Team Bliss, who recently added Zen, as we've talked about in the past. So, yeah, pretty crazy to see this, but then it's followed up by another team in the name of Bandits, where Bandits says going into Regional 3, they've made some changes and are going to be bringing in Sicky to the roster. So, potentially the reason why Wildcard is no longer a thing is because Sicky decided to go elsewhere. It's even crazier to think is Bandits also forfeited 850 points, are going to be starting back from square one. I think a lot of people look at the rankings and say, hey, there's like 2 or 3 teams that have a real chance, maybe 4, depending if Forkidden keeps climbing the way they have been, because they've been super consistent. 2 second place finishes, pretty impressive. I'll do a recap of all the regions before the major. So if you guys want to know what the heck's going on in like OCE, SAM, and stuff, don't worry, I'll have you covered in the future when it's more relevant towards the end. It's just those videos nobody watches, unfortunately, even though I think they're really important. But you do have Sicky now joining that team with Sprat and Hawk, and they're having to start anew after they forfeited all their points. So here's to see on if they're just planning for long-term success, trying to build something, or what the plan is. They do say that Zayd is going to be the one off, as I just told you guys who the 3 are, but Bandits no longer with Zayd, bringing in Sicky. Sicky, obviously former Renegades and otherwise. Wildcard is where he ended up after Renegade. He's bounced around. It's what OCE does. OCE makes a ton of changes and they go all over the place. So some couple teams to pay attention to, but I don't think any of it matters necessarily, because you still got to beat Renegades, still got to beat Ground Zero, still got to beat Forkidden, Dire Wolves. There's teams and there's a hierarchy for sure, and sometimes they do mix about, but usually it's the same 4 or 5 teams in OC, which is better than usually the same 2 is what it's been. So it's a little bit of change up happening in OC, which is exciting. Either way, that is what I have for your Rocket League news for this weekend. These are going to be probably less and less frequent. I'm going to try to bunch them all together rather than a bunch, unless there's some really exciting things going on. I prefer, and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you prefer like long form content, like when I dedicated about a new era of Rocket League approaching and my thoughts about Team Vitality, or hey, this is the Team Liquid situation, this is kind of the thought process, rather giving it kind of a short form like, hey, this thing happened. You guys prefer me to kind of go history, everything's going on, and then expand upon it, kind of like I did for the Team Liquid Itaoski thing at the beginning of this video. Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you guys enjoy the content, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications. Also, my washing machine is going crazy right now, so I'm gonna go figure out what the heck's going on with that. But again, appreciate you guys all watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.